So we have this running a joke, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard us do it on here over time, where somebody says an anything, and that anything instantly becomes a ska band, or a punk band, or a nickname in high school, and I'm supposed to come up with an intro, and I couldn't, and then I said one of these, and we actually, immediately after we said one, had a conversation about how quickly we forget all of these band names that we come up with, and I already forgot the one that we just came up with, and I don't know it, and this is your intro. In 5D.
And I believe it was Hard at Half Mast.
Hard at Half Mast.
Yeah. Wasn't that a metal band? I can't remember, man.
I think it was punk. Band. It's usually punk with me. That's how this works, goddammit.
I try and do my best to change the type of music that you do, just because it seems boring if you're always a punk band.
But punk fits so many things that we say. Because we are horrid people.
Right.
Oh,
horrid people.
The one I was talking about was the EDM metal band. And it was... EDM gangster rap, and it was Gangster's Paradox was our first single.
Oh, I do remember that.
Okay. I don't remember that. I wasn't there for that.
You weren't there for that.
You were not. It was during chat. That totally needs to
I'm glad I got to the bottom of that. I am Detective Figbird. Speaking of...
Detective Figbird, PhD.
Also known as Steven. With me today...
Hi, Steven!
Hi! I'm 3 days sober... Wait. I'm 3 minutes sober. With me, as always, I've got Eduardo, also known as Archangel of Light.
Howdy.
Spelled funny.
I know, right? It's all fucking, typoed. But you know who else has a typo? I think it's Bonsai Devin, my
Woo!
Bonsai, who's also
not sober now.
You're sober now. Good job.
No, I'm not sober now.
Oh, you're not sober
Yeah,
now.
not even 3 minutes.
Woo!
I've already been drinking.
How you guys been doing this week?
I haven't stabbed anyone yet, so it's a good week.
You see that he said yet. He is expecting to stab someone by the end of the week.
It's just likely.
Yeah.
Is all.
Well, I mean, have you seen people that we work with?
Frill.
Okay. On a scale from 1 to Oakland, how likely are you to stab somebody?
That's a good scale.
Probably just under Oakland. Just under Oakland.
All right.
Which I think is Stockton at this point.
Oh, yeah, actually.
I think. I don't know the actual statistic.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
So, speaking of stabbing...
Yeah, let's talk about stabbing.
There's stabbing news?
Why is there stabbing news? What did you do?
Stabbed.
Well, I was going to talk about the Heroes of the Storm beta that's now open.
Oh, yeah, the open beta? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a stabbing thing, but hey, I guess you did a really good segue.
It stabbed Eduardo in his heart because he's a hardcore LOL fan.
No, not even a little.
I don't really think that you are, bro.
Sorry.
No. But, I'm just starting to wonder, when we played, we did the beta, you guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
When we played, it was mostly Blizzard fans, and there was still some, bullshit happening when we were playing, right? People sending those passive-aggressive good games and things like that.
Of course. But, I mean, that's any game, really.
So now that they've opened it up to the public, how bad do you think it's going to get?
I don't think it's going to get much worse, honestly.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't see it
I
getting
don't
that
think the
bad.
game has enough of a draw power right now outside of the people that were already in the game. There's probably going to be an influx, obviously, as the game comes out. When it's fully released as opposed to a beta, there might be a bigger influx. But honestly, when you compare the major Lords Management games of just the big ones, I actually think Heroes is probably going to have the lowest number out of all of them, and I actually think that's kind of sad because I think it's one of the better ones out there.
Yeah, I actually had a lot of fun with that one. Steven is probably the big Lords Management head of any of us. He plays more than either of us do. Not that any of us play hardcore or anything, but if it's anybody, it's him. That's right. Fucking yeah. People on the podcast I don't know what that means. What are they talking about?
I made the fisting motion.
Thank you, buddy. But so he introduced me to, what did we play? We played LOL. No, we played Dota. Dota 2.
We played Dota 2. We
played
Heroes
Smite.
of the Storm and Smite.
Yeah, and we played Heroes of the Storm.
And Infinity Crisis.
Infinite Crisis. And out of all of them, probably Heroes of the Storm was my favorite.
Yeah, so I mean that's
it was the easiest to pierce as a new guy.
All right,
What
so
about
that's
Smite?
what I was
We
getting at.
played Smite as well.
I would say this is actually even easier to pierce than Smite is.
Smite is actually a relatively complex game, despite the fact that it's a little bit easier in some functions. The fact that it's a third-person game does take a little bit of getting used to, and it changes sort of like how you interact with it. And the game's mechanics are a lot like kind of like console-esque because of that, which I think is kind of cool, and I'd love to see that game ported to a console because it could be done that way.
Actually, Smite has been ported to a console.
Oh, it did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's come out for the Xbox,
Really?
the Xbox One at least. Hmm?
Oh, okay.
Weird.
That's cool. Good to know. But anyways, the point being that Smite's actually a really complicated game because of the way the item systems and the leveling system all works. It also has the same... Basically, when it comes to mechanical complexity, it has the same level of stuff as even League of Legends does. Whereas Here's the Storm has depth to it, but all of it is in a different kind of way. A lot easier because, like... You can't really go wrong with your choices in Here's the Storm. I mean, you can do a pretty poor build, but you're never going to gimp yourself entirely because you're still going to function as its level at. So like, when it's like starting out, it's easier to figure out. Whereas if you're playing something like Smite, you can buy an item that's literally worthless for you.
Just as a correction, the beta has come out for Xbox One. They're going to do a wide release in Q2, which is what we're in right now.
Right, but the point being that I don't think the game is going to have the same kind of numbers that I would have expected based off of how good the game actually is and how easy it is to penetrate, and I think it's kind of sad. Though, I mean, you never know. It could be a big deal. I mean, Blizzard has a lot of fans and there's a big community behind them, so we'll see.
Well, one thing I do have to say that kind of separates Heroes of the Storm. Like, Heroes of the Storm, we did get people being a little passive-aggressive, but I remember being on the Smite alpha when we were trying that out, and literally, the alpha had just come out, we were on one of the first matches, and people were already like, what are you doing, bro? I'm like, the game just came out. Nobody has any idea.
No idea what I'm doing. Thank you.
Relax. Right. So, definitely, I like Heroes of the Storm when I played it. It still is not my type of game, but would definitely play again.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really sad though is because even though the game isn't really full of depth when it comes to its mechanical aspects of the characters, what it really has, it's just beyond any of the other ones, is the way the map system works. You know, there's so many different types of games you can get into because when you're playing it, the map matters way more because there's more than one. You know, and that's something that the other ones haven't really made it successful, right? Whereas I think that Heroes of the Storm has been successful in having multiple map styles. You know, the only other ones that have kind of existed is League of Legends has done a few different maps, and most of them are they're okay. They don't have the same kind of core gameplay by any means.
Smite has a couple of different gameplay modes. There's a straight up arena battle. There's a siege mode apparently. There's a single lane mode. Kind of like an alternate map.
Right, but the maps in that case are also very drastically different game styles. Like,
True.
I mean, although the maps in Heroes of the Storm change the game style because the objectives change, the core gameplay doesn't change that much.
Yeah.
Whereas in Smite, like the arena mode, like you're more than often just killing the minions so they don't get through and just having this big brawl in the middle. Whereas in, all the Heroes of the Storm maps, you got to move around a little bit, you got to play the objectives, and all of them have very similar kinds of, hey, go to an objective and do a thing.
I will agree that I definitely like the fact that there were objectives. I mean, the couple of maps we played, you had the one where you have to go underground into the mine to do something. It was a nice departure from just everybody horde and try to take out the different lanes and whatnot. I did definitely like that. So also talking about Blizzard, did you guys hear about the big banhammer that came down?
Yeah.
I actually did, but not much because I didn't really look into it because I give zero fucks. But let's go ahead and talk about it.
There were I'm using this to actually talk about what I wanted to talk about, but Blizzard brought the banhammer down on about 100K accounts that were using bots. They were using grind bots. I'm not going to tell you which specific bot; didn't really matter. But
it was Jeff Bot. They were using Jeff Bot.
I'm pretty sure it was Jeremy Bot.
Oh, right, my mistake.
Oh,
yep.
But anyways, so I was kind of wondering what your guys' take is on bots in an MMO.
Well, so I'm curious, the accounts that were banned, were they just bots, or were they accounts that were attached to bot accounts?
So they were accounts that had a particular bot running on them.
Okay, so that was just the bot accounts. So in any case, like, and this kind of goes all the way back to the old Ultima days. I didn't play Ultima Online personally, but it had a similar issue. Or even things like, what is it, RuneScape or something like that, the like old browser-based one. All these games, they have a lot of just, you have to do something, right? So bots have kind of always had a lure because like the time sink is huge. I don't think that even in that case that botting should be really a thing. I would rather the game have mechanics that allow for more productive use of your time, though. And so I can see why bots were created, but I think that in general, if you're going to use a bot, you better expect to get banned. Because I think that that's just giving one person an unfair advantage. Again, but I also would rather see games take better use of the player's time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What about you, Devin?
Kind of complex here. Because Warcraft is a paid game, people are paying for this experience. Like, somebody is legitimately paying to be here and do this thing. For you to just show up and have a bot and mine just feels kind of dirty. And because it's a paid subscription thing, yeah, they can do whatever the fuck they want. It's their game. Whereas I feel like if it was like an open one of like the free-to-play ones, I kind of wouldn't give a shit. Who's it hurting? Well, it's a free game with free stuff and free materials in it. Just whatever. Who gives a fuck?
I think I'm actually on the opposite end. I agree a little bit with Steven where I feel like the game should give you a mechanic so where you aren't going to be so fucking bored or where you need to
grinding to the extreme is definitely obnoxious.
But what I don't think is okay is having to, like, once I level up a character in an MMO, I don't want to have to fucking level up another one. I rarely ever actually get a second character up to that level, but I do want to play other classes. So that's where, like, the grind bot would come in and just kind of grind this stuff out. And I know that there's a huge controversy when you talk about gold farming, and there's, like, people who that's their job to gold farm. But, like, if they put in some sort of mechanic, and this idea isn't coming just from me, I just thought it was a good idea. I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he's a big gamer, and he goes, you know what? If on my second character that I start leveling after I get a top level character, if they were to give me like a 5% XP boost and just have that expand on the different characters, he goes, I'd be a lot more compelled to actually do it because I don't give a shit about the story anymore. And I thought he made a great point. So if I'm paying every month to access this game, I don't want to be fucking bored. I don't want to have to re-level. Like, I'm not saying you should get free gear. No, you should still work hard for the gear because there's very special things you need to do to gear up. But to just level up your character, I think bots they're okay as long as you're not compromising. Like a bot on EVE Online would be fucking murder. That I get.
Well,
no bots there.
The thing that's interesting about you mentioning EVE specifically is that EVE actually has a lot of situations or systems in it to where being idle in the game doesn't hurt you, right? A good example of this is the way the skill systems in EVE work. I have, in fact, played EVE, if anybody didn't know that. Not much, but I played enough.
I actually didn't know you played that game.
Yeah, I was a pirate. What do you expect?
Yeah,
dude, I fucking potted some people. It was great. Anyways, the point is that the game, the skill system, they actually level up as you're not playing the game. Like, it's literal time, like physical amount of time that the character exists. So long as their skill, training, they gain points on it. So generally, the way you level a character up is that when you're playing, you pick skills that have short skill timers, right? Ones that level up quickly. So there are things like level 1 guns or something, let's say. It does that really quickly. That's what you're playing. When you leave, you do the big, long-winded stuff, like maybe your speed at which you level skills up or something like that. There's things that take, like, days of time. You put that on, and you queue that while you go AFK, like, so to go to, to school or whatever, and then you come back later on, and you switch that when you're in the game. And the reason why you do that is that you still need these skills, but they take so long that you can do them when you're not at the game. And so the mechanics there kind of allow you to play a game that doesn't require you to physically be at the game all the time. And when I was mentioning earlier the mechanics and stuff, one of the things that I absolutely hate about free-to-play experiences and a lot of these MMOs is that they are absolutely assholes when it comes to thinking about the time that a game can be invested. If I picked up an MMO tomorrow, I would have very little time to actually play it. And therefore, I would never really progress and never see the whole game. And I get bored eventually and leave. And that's a problem with pretty much any game like that, right? Unless I was doing something special about it, I'm not going to get into it. Games that allow you to kind of pick it up, play it for an hour, and have a good experience out of that, and then be through with that and come back. We need more of those experiences, I feel. And what I really hate about the free-to-play model is it really encourages the developers to design these really amoral style game mechanics. Ones that make you have to sit there all the time, that kind of thing. And so to me, I think the botting is just a symptom of bad game design.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So
No,
I don't think the
I would
bots are
agree.
good or bad, but I think that they're a symptom of bad game design, and I think the people who are putting them together should think about that.
So what do you think about them banning someone for using a bot, like a non-malignant bot, right? Like the one that we're
It
talking
doesn't
about
matter. I
here.
mean, so at the end of the day, these bots, no matter what they're doing, even if it's just grinding your character to level 70 or whatever it is, like that's still going to be something that can be used to generate money or something like that in the game. It's going to fuck with the economies and stuff. It's going to be used for selling outside of the game. It's against the end user license agreement too. Like all these things are there already. Like you're doing something wrong. And I think that any time where you're not playing the game, it's kind of fucking stupid. And I don't have a problem with it being banned because it's the same thing with hacks in games. Like the reason why I don't like aimbots aren't because oh god it sucks to play against an aimbot. I hate them because what the fuck's the point? You're not playing the game at that point.
Yeah, that was always my question. What do you get out of that? What is in that for you?
Some people are all into it. That's why win to play or free to play is huge right now because a lot of people or sorry, pay to win or something.
There
I
you
got
go.
that all fucked up.
You did.
I'm not
Yeah,
You weren't even
sorry.
close.
But that's why it's so huge right now because people can just go into a game and you spent 40 hours on this game and one guy can come in and be like, oh, here's $20. I'm now at your level.
Yeah, so that's again, I again just all about. I hate that stuff because it really is bad game design in my opinion because it doesn't take the player into account, and that to me is a really bad choice. I also do want to give a little bit of disclaimer. When I was younger, playing a lot more StarCraft and things like that, I did use a few hacks. So I've actually been on both sides of stuff. The ones that I used were never in like competitive games or anything like that. Mostly it was like we were playing like some tower defense map, and I was like, I can stack stuff. And people were like, how are you doing that, man? How are you doing that? And of course, then I would tell them the QQ, which there's a whole thing about it. And it'd be funny because they'd be like, oh, dude, you can totally activate this stacky thing by Alt QQ. Okay, I'll try that. And they would leave the game. And I'm like, eh. So like, I mean, I've done this sort of thing before. There is a bit of an allure to kind of, breaking a little bit of the rules and stuff just to kind of like have some fun with it. And again, it's usually a fun kind of thing. But when it's literally playing the game for you, that's where I don't see the point. That's...
And the hacking is a little bit different, like, or it's not actual hacking, but it's, bug, taking advantage of bugs.
Things like that, yeah.
Yeah, because we were playing, how many times playing Reign of Kings when we were even
Jesus
streaming
Christ.
it? How many times did one dude show up and was just like, hey, now I'm inside of your base. This is mine now. It's just, it really ruins it for the players. So I get where that's bad. I don't know. I still feel
Botting
like...
is doing the same thing, just in a lot less of an obvious way. I'll put it that way. So that's my opinion, at least.
Fair enough.
I think the games are broken, and if the games weren't broken, we wouldn't have a need for bots. So, fix the games.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Right.
make them engaging. Why make it so somebody wants to do a bot? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why they're being used for generating economy money, stuff like that, because obviously they're making money.
But
with
at the
that
same time, you can
No.
see why they're banning them, right? Like,
Yeah, obviously.
sure, it's their fault, but yeah, you still get fucking
No.
banned for
Well,
it.
I
Again,
understand.
against the
you
fucking
did-
license agreement.
Yeah,
I
it's,
get
you know.
you signed that. You agree to it. I understand what they're doing. I just want to talk about it. Like, I think that they're putting a band-aid, right? It's a symptom, not the cause.
Yeah.
So now, talking about stuff that we weren't really asking for here.
Woo!
Microsoft is releasing a special edition Master Chief all-white Xbox. Who's
Yeah, I saw
excited?
that.
Who's excited?
Not at all.
Not even this guy. No, honestly, there's nothing.
I don't think I see anybody. And wait, hold on, guys, hear that?
So
I think that's a cricket. Did you
Yeah,
hear that
right?
cricket?
Crickets.
I think you should get that checked out, man. I think you have tinnitus, bro, because I hear the crickets all the time.
Oh,
So
Was that the crickets?
yeah,
Are the
no, no,
crickets
no.
getting you, buddy?
like he just like sort of went, "Brr," and I'm like,
Dude,
what the fuck is that?
So one thing that I have noticed though is Xbox tends to do a lot of bundles when they're not winning, and
You're gonna try and boost your sales by giving people deals. Like that just makes sense.
Yeah, but they've been doing deals like as soon as they came out, like the Titanfall deal, the Assassin's Creed bundle, all this crazy things. Are they just not doing that well?
Have you not looked at any of the numbers when it comes to the consoles?
I didn't get a chance to right now. No,
I haven't looked recently, but I had followed a long time of last year the sort of trends. And
Last time I looked, it was more than 6.
Yeah, no. Last year, almost the entirety of the year, the highest selling console was the PlayStation. What is it, 4 now? Whatever the new PlayStation is. The PlayStation was winning without a question.
22.
The PlayStation 22. The PlayStation 22 was taking the lead the entirety of the year.
Well, and I gotta say, like, the next console I'm gonna get is gonna be a Wii U or a PS2. The Xbox One isn't even on my list of consoles to
PS2,
look at.
You're going
or sorry, 4. You know what I mean?
We just jumped all over the place with this.
Actually,
I got a PlayStation 22. Well, I'm gonna buy a PlayStation 2.
That's what threw me off, is you and your 22s. No, the 4. I'm gonna get a 4 next, and honestly, it's because they have like Xbox just keeps going like, look at those ones you played before. We're making a new one, and there's only a couple things coming out that are new and look good, and the ones that they do have legacy, I don't give a shit about.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why I think that the PlayStation's been doing better than the Xbox. But let me go ahead and state what I was trying to.
There was one more that you have to understand because it's me talking about it. It's just one more reason.
I know.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out for PS4,
Yeah.
so I have to have one.
Let me finish my goddamn statement. It's important.
Your statements are bullshit.
I know.
You're filled with lies.
And truth.
And Eduardo's filled with crickets.
Yes, and they apparently make him fall over or twitch.
Bursting out of his chest.
So last year, the PlayStation pretty much dominated the entirety of the year. The only time that the Xbox ever came up, or even got close, I think they may have broke it towards the very end of the year.
Well, that was because of all the shit talking.
Well, so the only reason why that happened is because of the way that the Xbox decided to do a price drop for the Christmas bundles and stuff. And when that happened, they started to really start to pick up with their stuff. And there's a big reason for that. And this is what I was going to kind of segue into, which is the fact that right now, if you're not buying a Wii U for the exclusives that only exist there, and you have to buy a console, between the two of them, you're getting a lot better stuff in the PlayStation right now because you have the gold PlayStation or whatever it's called, PlayStation Plus. I don't remember what it's called right.
Plus.
There's a bunch of really awesome games that are coming to that for free, essentially, quote unquote. They are also doing an independent development side of stuff. Like, for example, the Grim Fandango came out there. There's going to be things like Rogue Legacy. All these really fucking awesome PC games that are being ported to consoles are pretty much going there, and maybe some are going to Xbox, but a lot of them are going there. So, like, when it comes down to it, right now, honestly, the better deal is just the PlayStation if you're not already going for the Wii. And that's just how it is. So, of course, the Xbox is going to be trying to make, sales and stuff like that are going to get their numbers up because right now they don't have anything that really, says, oh, I need an Xbox.
Yeah, but a white Xbox doesn't seem to me like everyone's, because what is it, after Labor Day, it's just going to be so passé.
Well, what I think is funny is, the white was like the original launch of the 360 and they went black, then the one comes out in black, and now they're like, there's a white one.
Well,
they're
so
just
the reason
flip-flopping.
why something like that is alluring to anybody is the fact that it's an exclusive thing. I'm assuming those bundles will stop being produced at some point, and that's where those things become actually more
I don't know, that's what they said about the Elites, and then they just started producing them more.
True. I mean, my point is the whole reason why they have any... Maybe they'll keep them going, I don't know. But the point is that they're putting it out with the marketing aspect of, hey, this is something that only you can get right now. So.
Well, I'll be honest, I upgraded my... Well, first I had my my Xbox, my Wii, and my PlayStation, and the PlayStation was the only black one, and I felt like it was lonely, so I switched out my white Xbox for the Elite so that they could outnumber the white one.
That's racist.
I know, but that's what I did.
Well...
But at least it was in their favor.
Devin's racist fucking...
also, the Elite was, better than the original Xbox and so much quieter. That thing yelled. It yelled at me to use it.
360 I bought was the Elite. I waited. There were a bunch of issues, the Red Rings of Death.
Yeah.
And, storage issues happening with the original Xbox 360. So I waited, and they were like, oh, there's this Elite. We fixed all those problems, and we've given you more storage space for the same price. I was like, shut up and take my money.
So mine's still in the box from the last time I moved, and I looked. Yeah, my 360. I looked to make sure. I don't think I've played that thing in 3 years now, and it's kind of sad because there are some games I do want to kind of check it out on again, but I just
Most of them you can get on Steam now.
Right. The only one there's only one that I can think of right now that I really want to go through and actually play the rest of, which is Shadow Complex, I think it's called, which is a really cool Metroidvania style game. It was a random Xbox arcade game that I probably can get on PC now.
Actually, isn't the 360 everything shut off now?
Wait, hold on.
No.
Yeah, it is the 360. I was thinking about it for a second. That's the second one they did, right? It was the Xbox.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's
And
a
now it's
360.
the one.
Sorry, I haven't looked at that box in so long that I don't even know what fucking model name it is.
The 360 is still very much up and running. There's just a couple developers who have said, we're not making anything else for the 360.
Right.
I thought they were cutting off part of the arcade or online, or I thought they were cutting off part of it.
They killed karaoke for it, and a couple
That was
of
a
other
thing?
things. Yeah. So it's actually huge in Japan.
What?
It's Japan. Come on.
In the U.S., they had a service where you paid X amount of dollars, and for a couple of days you can get the pass or pay the monthly. You can just do karaoke off your Xbox with pretty much any microphone peripheral that you had, like the Rock Band ones or whatever, as long as it was Xbox compatible. So, but yeah, that was the thing. All right, so moving on from that.
My brain.
Don't judge me. All right, so a follow-up from our, I believe it was last week where we talked about The Witcher 3.
Oh, yeah, this is magical.
Green Man Gaming. No. So I looked a little deeper into this, and it looks like Green Man Gaming wasn't able to deliver on their keys that they sold. All those pre-sale stuff, they weren't able to deliver on them. And I was like, oh man, that's really, really shady. But I looked into it, and there is an even shadier part about this. So they gave out the keys, and they had some issue with their automated, with certain keys didn't go out at all. But the one thing, I was looking at the comments of people complaining, of course, on their site and a couple of the forums. So a couple of people reported that when they took the keys that they actually give them and try to actually download the game, if they put the key in, normally it said invalid key, but if they remove the dashes, it would say key has been temporarily disabled, temporarily disabled. So something really shady is going on where they were valid keys, but they were just suspended for some time.
Now, I think Devin brought this up earlier, but didn't they have like other places have these issues too? Like, didn't GOG have issues with this? And
GOG, as far as I saw, GOG was cited as well as having problems with keys.
Which, to me, and we talked about this
quick.
earlier via some texts, but like this blows me away because GOG is a subsidiary of CD Projekt Red, so why would their keys not work?
So
several users have reported issues with redeeming their keys they purchased from Green Man Gaming at GOG.com.
Yes, but the thing was that what I find shady is that it wasn't just, hey, these keys aren't valid, it's these keys are temporarily disabled. It just seems like some really shady shit. After that little spat, the Green Man Gaming and GOG, which is owned by Project Red or a partner with or whatever, it just seems really shady that all of a sudden their keys weren't working. I'm just saying.
Again, this throws me off because also GOG is having issues, and again, the platform that they allegedly wanted support was their own, which is GOG. I can't.
No.
It hurts my brain. I
Well,
don't get it.
and just more on like just the whole kerfuffle with this game. This was on The Escapist earlier, but people at AMD are claiming that NVIDIA, quote-unquote, completely sabotaged Witcher 3's performance on their cards. Something about their Hairworks technology tanking the performance of The Witcher on all their cards.
Hairworks? Are we talking about like...
It says Hairworks!
I actually know what he's talking about. The Witcher 3 is supposed to have by using an NVIDIA technology.
The most amazing hair ever?
Literally, yeah. It's supposed to have more realistic hair, and it's called Hairworks or something like that. And that's apparently
Wait,
it's not.
You're trolling me, right?
No, I'm actually completely 100% serious. And the set would create like
Hair is a big problem in these things. It looks unnatural when it moves.
right?
So
Yeah.
getting better hair movement is honestly
that's
kind of
horrible.
important.
at the
Talk to
same
Square
time,
Enix. They've had amazing hair since like
In
Final Fantasy.
cutscenes, in cutscenes,
cutscenes maybe, but
this is
no,
in-game.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's the
All
whole
right.
thing.
Fair
But
enough, go
anyways,
on.
this is the same kind of issue. I'm not surprised that there's been like a tank in performance because of this. It's the same thing that happened when, like, for example, Oblivion had grass physics. You know, like, you do physics for smaller pieces of the thing, it's gonna have performance issues. Especially, yeah. No, it just makes all the sense. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't have it on because I'd rather have the performance personally, but it's kind of cool they're pushing out an idea for something that looks better.
Well, from the way that they're claiming it, though, they're saying it's something about the way NVIDIA, built this thing that it doesn't work on AMD cards correctly.
Oh, okay.
Is what they're
That's also weird because
saying.
AMD and Nvidia like the same company essentially at this point, or like they're partners or something like that.
no idea.
I don't know. Or no, it's AMD with Radeon, isn't it?
Yes, AMD and Radeon. I
So
was
that's-
like, AMD and Nvidia are actually direct competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure because I know that I knew that one of the major graphics cards was with AMD. I just didn't remember which one.
I'm
My
not
bad,
sorry.
my
Stop
mistake.
staring at me.
Anyways,
But yeah, so they're making, and again, I don't know. That's on Escapist. You can go read it there. But yeah,
so much kerfuffle,
That's
and it's not
that was
even-
more my point to take away from this, was not what people are saying, but that there's more guff around this game. And now I'm just like, you know what? Any claims made during this, I'm kind of over at this point. This is just another fucked up release.
I want to know, is this going to be another fucking Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, no, it is. It's another fucked up release. I'm sorry.
You know what's really shitty is that right now it's just poo flinging. It's two
Yeah.
monkeys on opposite sides just flinging poo at each other, and they're saying, no, you flung poo first, and my poo's smellier, or whatever. It's just not working. So, but I did want to bring that up kind of as a follow-up because I know we talked about it, and we got a little serious there. All right.
Yeah, no, it throws me away.
So-
But moving on though, I have another random little thing. Did you guys hear about Sega and the mobile games that just like dropped off of iOS and Android devices?
No.
So Sega over the last couple of weeks, like they dropped, I think it's like 12 or 13 of their like titles just completely gone off of the mobile stores. These are games that are like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. I don't have the list in front of me. I probably should pull it up. But
So is it all or just some?
it's a huge chunk of their like library. In fact, some
Okay,
games are
well-
ones that you'd want.
Because if it was all, they might be getting preparing to be sold or something, right?
Right. So the thing is, they're supposedly going to bring some of them back with updates or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, well, if you're gonna now, hold on, it sounds like a weird idea, but if you're gonna update a game to make it better, why would you take it off of the market when you could then leave it there?
Well,
And there's gonna be an update eventually.
unless
Right.
the current build is really broken.
I doubt that
Sometimes
because
it's
it's
easier
most
to
of their
pull 'em.
library. It's almost all of their library. And I mean, if you want to, like, I don't know. It just
So
seems-
what's the buzz? What are people saying then?
Well, some people are kind of sad. Some people are like, "Oh, this isn't the first time." It's a weird thing. Like, it throws me off. Why is Sega like they're already kind of a failing company? Like, let's be honest here. Like,
Ouch.
Sega hasn't exactly had a huge pull like for a long time, right? When's the last time you went, "Oh, it's a Sega game"? Fuck yeah, you know.
I say that all the time. I was a huge Genesis fan, though. I still have my Genesis.
Yeah, but you're looking at the Genesis and going, "Oh, that's a Sega Genesis." Fuck yeah. You're not saying, "Oh, it's a new Genesis game."
Oh yeah, no,
Sega game.
no,
Fuck
God no.
Right. So like the newest, for example, the newest Sonic game, they made
Oh,
like
God.
the upside down or the like the Dorito character, also known as Knuckles, things like that. It's like it looks so bad.
It got
Company.
so many really shitty reviews.
Really?
This
That-
company's been going downhill for a while, and
So,
it's
I know how we like to make fun of Microsoft and Xbox and all that for beating a dead horse, but Sega just at this point it's just pulp.
although let's be fair. Earlier today, when I was streaming, I was playing a Sega game, and you know it's actually pretty good. So.
What were you playing?
Valkyria Chronicles. It's a pretty fun tactics style game. If you want, I can review it later. But I mean, the thing is, like, seeing Sega's logo on that was more of a surprise to me. 'Cause, again, they're kind of a
Does it still go Sega?
Oh, but it went Sega.
Oh,
Like
that's
the
new.
Oh, that's right.
Now it's angry about it.
They did change them. I do remember that.
Yep. I like the old one better. Sega. And then,
Yeah,
like,
it's so
fucking Sonic
cheery.
comes up. Doot, doot. Yeah.
Dude,
Uh,
dude.
I just Throw that shit out there. But I'm curious, guys. Like, why, if you were a company, why would you pull like 12 of your games off of a store like that? Like, what reasoning could you have that would be worth doing?
Confirming Half-Life 3.
Oh yeah, that's right. So we're gonna yeah. Totally different companies. Yeah, we're gonna pull off our shit to confirm Half-Life 3. Like the Popopocalypse over here.
Honestly, they could be pulling them down because they plan to use the titles elsewhere.
I guess. I mean, I don't know why you do that.
I mean, but it's not, pull them off here because we're going to redesign, or
I guess
weirder things have happened. Just like when Disney got a hold of Lucas, slowly they started pulling everything that wasn't theirs off the shelf and rebranding and distributing it under their own. Maybe Sega found success somewhere and is able to put out something like themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
What could be happening too is that they're pulling their titles because they're just going to release new versions or updated versions that they can sell again. I could see a publisher doing that. Like, yeah, we're going to charge you again for the same game but slightly different. Hey.
Right. I was just curious because like that one was one of those things where I'm like, why?
Yeah, and it could also be like a licensing thing. There's all kinds of reasonings what it could be, but
I mean, I'm just curious like why you would do it. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't because I would still like to collect money.
That's what I was thinking. Like you're making
I like money
somehow, right?
Yes.
Like why? Whatever.
Sometimes you just gotta make that dollar, kids.
Yeah.
Dollar bills, yo.
But to move on, I'm actually really excited to talk about this one. So there's this group of people that was put together. I think it was in Louisiana or something like that. They're calling themselves the EGL, which you believe is Elite Gamer League or something like that. It's a group that was founded for playing, I think it was Madden or something like that, not long or a while ago. And then over time they kind of like grew and stuff like that, right? And at this point they're trying to become, and I quote, the NCAA of esports. And I was looking at this really cool article that's going on about it, which is about how this guy looks at it and says that one of the biggest problems with esports right now is although it's growing and everything, it's still completely lacking some of the ways to like transition players and stuff like that.
We just got put into the dictionary, though. Esports is officially a word in the dictionary.
That's really fucking cool to see. And what's cool about this guy, though, is like his idea, his mentality is like, we should be trying to offer scholarships and stuff, just like a sports team would offer for their stuff, but with esports. Like, why not?
Devin, we're getting video game high school.
Ooh.
So he's legitimately putting together and trying to really promote this idea of becoming the NCAA of esports. And I think that's a really fucking cool thing, and I'm really excited to see where this goes because, I know you guys aren't huge into esports or anything, but it's still like it's one of those things that gets us a little bit close to
you remember what we had this discussion not too long ago about what would get us into esports, and maybe at least my answer was I'm just waiting for the right game. It needs to be a game that I'm interested in, and maybe something like this could be a bigger push for companies to be like, dude, really everybody should be throwing their hat in the ring on some sort of esports game. You're gonna want to be a part of this, because right now how many companies are really making games that are being taken seriously as competitive games right now?
So you say companies, you've got Activision, which technically sort of kind of controls Blizzard. So Activision has has the Call of Duty series as well as all the Blizzard titles technically.
Yeah.
You've got Microsoft with like Halo and things like that, although they failed miserably with the last one, but we're not going to talk about that. You've got the Battlefield series, which isn't really working that way, but I think that they'd like to become esports like. Pretty much any of the big first-person shooter developers are looking for sort of like a game that can be played competitively like that. But if you're talking about like really pushing esports, it's mostly Blizzard and like Riot and a little bit of Valve. Like, those are really the big ones.
But, okay, now how many game companies are there?
A lot.
And that's all you have that are seriously looking at esports as a thing that they want to be a part of. So the more these games start making money and the more people can get focused on it, maybe the closer... and I'm actually really looking forward, maybe Overwatch is finally going to be the esports game that I can get into,
I think that game's going to be pretty sweet.
Because something a little shootery and a little more fast-paced is honestly what I'm looking for. Fighting games probably should do it for me, but it's because of my personal hatred at my lack of ability to play fighting games that keeps me from being able to enjoy fighting games.
Do you ever end up playing Team Fortress 2?
No.
Okay,
No.
I think that you might want to give it a check, especially because it's a free-to-play game these days.
Yeah.
Because if you like TF2 and the way it works, then you're going to like the way Overwatch is. The biggest difference between the two is going to be like more of a MMOE skilly system that is involved. More like Lord's Management. But the point is, like, it's going to be the same kind of game, arena-y style, like team squad shooter. So if you want to look for a game that's kind of similar, that's probably the best I can think of.
Well, but a game like Overwatch, what it does is it gives us a bit more of a sport mentality because, yes, Team Fortress has classes, but this has more specialized classes, and it can really allow players to customize or tweak builds to specialize to how they do it, and that's something that can let... this was something else we had talked about on a previous episode, making individual players stand out as stars. You need your Tiger Woods and your Michael Jordans and your... Right. You need that. Well, you need the guy who everybody can be like, this fucking guy!
This already exists in esports as it is. Again, you guys don't really follow it enough to know this, but there are players who are really well known. I don't really follow League of Legends, but I know there's a couple of players that are like so well known that like their names are a big deal. Or like if we talk StarCraft, which is something I know more of, Boxer was like literally a legend and somebody who... in Korea, you wouldn't know him by Boxer, you'd know him by his real name, but he was like such a huge legend that like the fact that he had to retire because of shoulder stuff really caused a lot of people to be sad because he was really trying to kind of keep his career going and being that sort of legendary piece. Where there's people like, just there are names that are names, and if you're talking like a team game, even in the Dota sphere, you've got these specific people that have their specific roles who have these specific characters, which is like when that person plays that character, you're like, yeah, it's going to be really cool, like seeing this.
See, this is what strikes me as bizarre though, because I'm not into golf either. But I know Tiger Woods. I'm more into esports than I am into golf. And again, golf is bigger and more widespread, but the fact that I have any foot at all into esports means these names should be coming up more often. And if there was maybe a more centralized game, a one game that was considered like the big esportsy tournament game, this would give a better way for it. Because you're saying, these guys were good in Dota, these guys were good in League of Legends, but how many of them are good in esports in general? If you have a more generalized, easily pierced game, you can have these people stand out more.
You're asking for there to be a game that's basically golf, baseball, soccer, and football all together. Like, you're asking for something like that. I don't really expect...
just something that's as easily penetrable as those games.
That is
you can watch football, and there is detail to football, but you can also watch football without getting the detail and still understand.
I mean, and that's something that I talked about before. This is definitely a topic that I brought up, and one of the reasons why there's been some cool things that have been being done when it comes to these sort of games. But yeah, the biggest problem is inability to just see, oh, this person's doing this thing because it makes sense, it wins.
So until you're heavy into the game, you don't see these big names and these big things.
At the same time, though, I mean, you're saying something like, oh, I know Tiger Woods, but the reason why you know that, I think, is, if anything, the fact there's a game with his name on it. Or these things like that exist with.
Actually, it's more because he banged like 100 women who all came out and told his wife, "We banged your husband."
Right. My point is that he's been in a big media spotlight, and that's why you know his name, regardless of the fact that honestly, it's with esports there are people. If you follow any of the scenes, you'll know names. Like within 5 minutes of me watching Dota for the first time, I had a couple of names that sounded like big players. You have to take the time to actually be listening to that kind of thing.
You're just like not one of us, and you don't understand, bro.
Don't talk about our way of life.
That's not what I'm trying to say at all. That's not what I'm trying to say at
all.
No,
he's just explaining that it does go deeper. But again, making the stuff more commercially ready and commercially available is only going to help esports. It's about getting it out there. It's about making it a bigger spectacle.
Helping it be understood by the random person who happens to tune into it is a big deal, and I think that's the hardest hurdle when it comes to mass consumption for esports. But at the same time, this idea, this NCAA of esports, is another cool way to do that, because now you're getting people scholarships, you're getting people, all these like draws to actually try and become this.
There's a few schools that have already been sponsoring teams.
Yeah. There's been existence of this, but this is like a person who's like saying, we want to make a league, right? A league that is about building relationship between up and coming pros and the actual pro scene, because that is a huge gap that's missing right now. Especially maybe not so much in like Korea, for example, where like so much of their culture can be oriented around esports and how much of that stuff is existing. But like around in the United States, there really isn't anything like that, and it can be really helpful to penetrate the rest of the world to have
So
something
with
like
it
that.
being something like this, though, so think about the MLB. It's the baseball league. The NFL is the football league. When you have the gaming league, what game, like, do you say, oh, our school only plays StarCraft? Do you have several teams for several games? How are they gonna...
I think it depends on what the leagues are designed as, because right now there are leagues that exist in the esports career or in the esports sphere.
But if you're doing it for like a collegiate thing, you want all the colleges to be on the same page, and having 15 games breaks that up.
Mentioned the fact that exists. I also mentioned a couple of weeks ago the Heroes of the Dorm tournament, which was a collegiate-based Heroes of the Storm tournament. These things already exist, and that was a league-based thing, as far as I understand. Like, it went on for a long period of time, and people gained points and that kind of thing. Like, these leagues exist. It's about making like a choice. Like, hey, do we have the interest in a StarCraft collegiate-based league in our school? If yes, do it. Because I mean, these things exist elsewhere in the world. Why not do that in the United States?
I mean, I understand that, and I honestly think it's really difficult to do if each school has... because then you have smaller pools, you know what I mean? Right. If there's only 4 schools playing StarCraft, it's just those 4 teams competing over and over.
At this point, you might have the easiest time just picking something like one of the Madden games or something like that. One of the games that are actually a lot bigger than I ever want to admit, because, I'm not that guy.
Sports ball people in my genre.
Sports ball in games feel weird to me. Like, it just feels weird. Not to give
it's
any,
because they've never accepted you, so you refuse to accept them.
It's kind of like I'm having a hard time, guys. But to be fair, at least some of the ones that I've played, which are a lot older than the newer ones, they're actually really fun games. But
I've honestly never played any sports ball games. I've never had any interest. Just the subject matter doesn't interest me.
I've played a little bit of everything. Let's just say that. I don't think there's a genre I haven't touched. And if you can think of one, I will be surprised.
Action, adventure, sci-fi porn.
Rape games.
Anyway, so continuing on.
Well done.
And you know they're a thing. Those Japanese like their games.
They do in fact exist. And yeah. But the point being that having a league like this, even if you just pick a game to start with, why not? And then you can grow from there. Like, if there's enough people playing games right now to where you could probably have one for all the.
To be fair though, if I could get a scholarship to go play Halo, I'm gonna get a scholarship to go play Halo.
And think about how scholarships works though. I more mean for this scholarship. Are they going to pick one game to band around and only support players of that game? It's a scholarship.
To start, I think that's the idea.
Okay.
Just because, like, it's really hard to tackle the huge range of games
so
that there are.
How far away do you feel it is from, like, Microsoft going, we're giving out scholarships, but you have to only play our game and only be in our league. You have to play exclusively for Halo or for whatever game they're...
Is that such a bad thing?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same question. Is that really
No, but I'm just wondering, like, how far out do you feel that is?
It's hard to say because I haven't seen the response to this idea to start with. But let's say that this idea is successful in garnering some attention, right? If that's the case, not long at all. If it isn't so much, then we're still a ways off. But esports has had enough of a sort of hype behind it now. The fact that we had, live televised events, things like that, it's starting to become more of a big thing. I don't see this being long off if something like this starts to kick off even a little bit. So I wouldn't say even more than maybe 5 years we'd have something really big happening there. So, I don't know. But point being, when I bring this up, is that I'm really excited because I'm seeing more and more stuff that really kind of brings something that's been underground for so many years out to the surface. And it's been happening slowly over the last couple of years. I've mentioned things throughout this podcast even that have been really cool events. And this is another one of those steps where it's like, let's talk about the management side of stuff. Because we don't have the management side of things really handled. We can play the games and have fucking awesome events. But the management everywhere else, we're kind of lacking in.
I think centralization is the lack. Because it's so spread out. Because there's not this one big game. Because it's not one community around a thing, it's hard to manage. Right. Again, I think what esports needs is the game designed to be the esports game. This is, it's a tournament game. It's about skill in the game. That kind of thing. That's what and it needs to be enjoyable, because, if you just build Tournament the game, it's not going to be as fun.
You mean like Nintendo's World Championship game?
Honestly, what really needs to happen is Unreal Tournament needs to get off their ass and actually design Unreal Tournament.
I'm gonna rephrase what I said because I think you don't actually realize that this exists and is happening again. But Nintendo's World Tournament,
What is it?
World Championship. So originally it was an old NES game that like super rare these days because it was like this big event thing. They're actually bringing it back because they had a DS version of it. And I guess they're doing preliminary tournaments right now, like actually doing this. It's basically a game where like it's tournament. It's like literally a game where you do like score based things, and
Imagine if this is the game. How disappointed in esports in general are you going to be if this becomes like the esports game and people are like, this?
If it does, I will be sad, but it just won't. But I just find it funny because you're like, you can't really do tournament the game. It exists.
Well, and it's probably not going to do very well.
As long as it's not as hard as remember the NES game where it was like Olympics and nobody could get past the first guy just running. So you get like a spoon or something. As long as it's not something like that, I literally could not get past the first event. I was just like, this is worthless. Let me play ET.
Oh God.
The point is that I'm excited and it's cool to see this happening. And
that topic spiraled, man.
Yeah,
they usually do. All right, so I want to bring this back a little bit to talking about cheating and bots and stuff like that. So,
wow, really? You're just gonna fucking hard U-turn?
Totally. Check this
out. All right.
So we talked about accounts being banned with Blizzard. Did you guys hear the H1Z1 accounts being banned?
Yeah, I did. It's been a big deal these weeks.
Okay, so a bunch of cheaters got banned on H1Z1. Did you see what the developer said would allow them to get unbanned, what they needed to do?
Yes, I did see this.
If I remember correctly, wasn't it like literally beg and like sing?
No, this was brilliant. So sort of like that. They needed to apologize, not to the company, to the audience, to the game base or the player base, via a YouTube video submitted by noon today. And even then, it was a maybe.
I love it.
How many people? Well, because of course it's a maybe, because you can't just be like, thanks, fucker, because then they're no, you know.
So I want to know how many people submitted these videos. Do we have a number?
As of I think this morning when I was compiling the article, there have been 3.
Only 3 people have tried.
3.
Seriously?
Out of 30,000 players, only 3.
I am kind of surprised how low that number is.
Yeah.
Like legitimately surprised.
I was completely disappointed because I'm like, look, 30,000 of you motherfuckers are cheating. They know. They banned you. And only 3 of you have the balls to be like, I'm sorry.
Or just don't like the game and we're like, fuck it.
I mean, I can't imagine a world where I didn't decide to just go, okay, well, I probably shouldn't have been cheating, but hey, have a chance to get back into this game that I was kind of enjoying.
But again, you're assuming they enjoyed it. I mean, maybe they didn't.
So we have 30,000 minus 3 because math is hard. Basically, trolls fucking just go like, well, we got banned, but we're not sorry about it. Fuck you.
Most of them are probably back in the game with a different account.
Yeah.
Probably.
Doing the trolling, but yeah, so I did want to talk about that because I thought the idea was brilliant. Because I you know what? Sadly, I expected a little bit more like, leave Britney alone kind of stuff where someone's gonna go on there. Sorry. I didn't mean to. The game was hard. There were guns everywhere. So I thought that was pretty funny. I wanted to make sure that we talked about that. And one last thing before I'm done and spent and gonna smoke a cigar.
Pass out, snore loudly.
Nah, I don't do that. There's a lot more farting involved. But anyways, so Star Trek 3. Did you hear the kind of sad news that came out? So Simon Pegg.
Oh yeah.
Has been contributing with Star Trek 3. Star Trek 3.
Star Trek 3.
Oh my god!
It's the tree of Star Trek.
So the script is being written. Simon Pegg's writing a big chunk of it, and one of the biggest complaints from 2 was that they took Star Trek and made it a generic action movie. So what he was trying to do, he had a script, he had submitted it, and the studio said, this needs to be more inclusive. And he gave an example of what they meant. And this is quoting directly from Simon Pegg. He said, a Western or a thriller or a heist movie, then populate that with Star Trek characters. So basically, they don't want a Star Trek movie. They want any movie with a Star Trek skin. And that broke my heart.
Really? That's perfect.
That sounds like every movie that's been happening the last, 3 years?
No, not even that. I mean, the original Star Trek were... They were things, every time it was a planet with a problem, or this species with a problem, or this ship with a problem, and then they solved it and they went on their way. Sure, there were running species and this and that, but isn't that what these movies should be? Like, this isn't Marvel and the Avengers. That is a story that interweaves and crosses over as things happen, and that's how the comics are, and that's how it should be. But Star Trek... only it had maybe in the background long-running arcs, but the foreground was individual stories of individual instances. It was chroniclings of the adventures through space. So shouldn't each movie be a standalone thing? Sometimes they're heisting stuff. Sometimes they're fighting things. Sometimes they're saving things.
But I think that it's a lot less about telling those kinds of stories, but of actually using the formula of it with Star Trek characters. Like, if you guys want to make
But that's how you'd write the show. That's exactly how you would write the show. This isn't Lost, dude. This isn't fucking V. This isn't a thing with, this huge throughput. Sure, characters die and bonds are built, but it's almost as much as Friends. Friends was just stories about these people's lives. Sure, there was throughput, but you could have done a story about anything.
I think what people are really mad at is the fact that it's just not a Star Trek enough, right? It's just generic story Star Trek thrown in. Like, see, for me, I only saw bits and pieces of the original series, so I can't sit here and really complain. Like, I liked the first movie. The second movie was okay. It had Cumbersnatch or whatever his face is.
Cumberbatch?
The alien.
Sure.
Yeah, not Khan. It had him in it, and I thought he did great, and I know a lot of people were pissed. But I'm just saying, it just seems like what the fans were asking for, like the fans of Star Trek, isn't what they're getting. They wanted more in-universe and impactful stuff.
So here, people don't know what they want. Honestly, what I've thought Star Wars has needed for years was to stop telling stories about the fucking Skywalkers and the wars and everything. Tell a story about anything else. And it's the same with Star Trek. Honestly, I don't even know why these Star Trek movies star Kirk and all these guys. Call it Star Trek, set it in space, put them in the uniforms, make a new thing. Because it doesn't matter. There's other stuff happening in these universes.
That's I think, my issue with it, but at the same time, I've never thought of Star Trek, in any case of any version of it, as being an action thing. Star Trek is more of a drama to me.
True.
It's a drama movie.
But,
That's what I'd like to see.
I agree, and I agree with you too. Like, the problem is that then you get shit like Enterprise, and people were extremely unhappy with Enterprise because they went, this is Star Trek, but this is not.
Some stuff doesn't resonate, but I mean, it doesn't mean that it can't be done right.
Oh no, Next Generation was fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, Next Generation, it was all over the place. Sometimes they were fighting Borg, sometimes Ferengi, sometimes this, sometimes that. It doesn't matter what they tell a story about, as long as they tell a good story and don't bastardize history. That's where I think a lot of people have the problem, is they fucked up all the history. The fans just want to feel comfortable that you're okay with that, they just want to know that you know the history, and other than that, they just want a good story. Most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's what they're going to get, but I did want to talk about that because everyone just had so much shit to say about the last Star Trek movie. And
I actually didn't even see the second one. I didn't hear anything good about it, and I probably wasn't going to bother anyways.
And I don't even know how that happened.
Yeah.
I legitimately don't even know.
I don't know. We'll fucking... I don't know. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah. Honestly, I'm sure the movie will be just fine.
We'll see what happens. Why not? I mean, we'll see. It's a good idea.
That's all I got for today.
But you, Devin, you got anything else?
Nothing. Well, there's a lot of stuff that happened that's really interesting, but it's a lot of like pictures and leaks and stuff. We got our first look at Crossbones from the next Captain America movie.
Okay.
It looks good. They even showed him without the mask, and he's nice and disfigured like he's supposed to be, proving that Marvel knows how Marvel characters work and then just does that. So that's good. Suicide Squad pictures came out. It's a lot of stuff that looks like people in the street with guns, which is weird, but okay.
Which is, kind of what DC has been doing.
They flip-flopped again. So first we got a picture of Jared Leto with tattoos. And then they came back and they said, no, he doesn't have tattoos in the movie. That was just this other thing. And now pictures have come out of him on the set, and he has all the tattoos. So now everybody's going, but you said he fucking didn't.
I mean, we're just going to go ahead and say this.
Surprised,
DC?
Like nobody knows how to fucking feel about it anymore. Honestly, I don't think the movie looks very good. I think it looks like a cheesy 80 action movie, but, I could be wrong. I'm just saying this is how it looks right now. Honestly, I thought Batman vs. Superman looked like a pile of shit. The more I see, the more I'm at least willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm not on board, but... okay, maybe you have something here. Fucking, you have a lot of, uphill fighting to do right now, because I'm really not happy with any of the movies you've done. But okay, but everything I'm seeing about Suicide Squad, I'm just looking at them like, really?
That's what you're going with?
Okay.
Any other leaks?
Not that I remember. A couple new trailers came out, but I had actually already seen a couple of them, which was weird. I don't know. They weren't really noteworthy either. They weren't very good, so,
There's one thing I remember. So, X-Files is coming back for us.
Yes, that's true.
We talked about that before, didn't we?
Yes, I know.
Okay, so why are we bringing it up again?
Because, did you know David Duchovny just released a fucking CD or something?
No.
So, David Duchovny just released a CD, and Gillian Anderson was there supporting her castmate. Apparently, somewhere in between during that show, or that live show where they were there, the two get up and start kissing, on stage. So apparently, in the X-Files, they've hooked up and they're a couple. So. That was interesting. A lot of people were like, yay. A lot of people were very sad because they wanted to do things to Gillian Anderson.
I don't remember. Did we talk about Legends of Tomorrow last week?
Say again?
Legends of Tomorrow? Did we talk about that last week? No. You sure?
Pretty.
Oh, okay, well, that's the other thing. We got a trailer for Legends of Tomorrow. That's the new Arrow Flash crossover show.
Okay.
Interesting cast. So you're going to get Flash and Arrow from the shows... The Flash and Arrow. So
wait, no, I thought it was Flash and Arrow from Big Hunter 6 and
Big Hunter 6.
I just picked some fucking random ass title.
So far I'm only half in and half out because I like the Flash. I hate the Arrow. I don't know how to feel about this show. So then you add in White Canary, which is apparently they killed a Black Canary in Arrow, and now she's back from the dead as White Canary. You get the Atom from Flash. They're adding in, who the hell else was it? Hawkgirl, who is, she's like old school Hawkgirl. She's a girl who has a bunch of memories from a past life, but... Hawkgirl.
I thought you were like Hot Girl. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, her name's Hot Girl. No, Hawk Girl. She's a girl, and she's a hawk. That's how that works, apparently. Atom, who can finally fucking shrink, apparently, and they show it off in this. Because until now, he's been in the show with the suit, and he's basically just a poor man's Iron Man right now. He flies around and has laser blasts and shoots things. And he's a little derpy and doesn't know how to use it. And so here's your big twist, is they're throwing in Captain Cold and Heatwave as part of the team. Because a guy comes back in time and he's like, yeah, all of you are a team, and now we have to travel through time fighting Vandal Savage. Which I'll admit is a dope villain, and that's probably the best thing pulling me in right now is Vandal fucking Savage. But so apparently this is them traveling through time, battling Vandal Savage. And so even like the villains ask, they're like, there is no possible future where we are heroes. And he goes, but you're not heroes. You're legends. And you're like, that doesn't answer a fucking thing. Why are we bringing them? I don't understand.
Okay.
So that's the show. I mean, and again, with CW, it's hit or miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of them are great. Some of them are garbage. I don't know where this one falls yet. From what I've seen, honestly, it could go either way. This will work like gangbusters, or this will be
garbage?
miserable.
Why don't we assume garbage?
I'm assuming that for TNT's Teen Titans. Also, TNT is making Teen Titans. We went over this.
Yeah, we already went over that.
We went
all of us.
There was
We're
there was a little bit that came out about the plot of that. Apparently, it's going to be about Dick Grayson just after he leaves Batman's side, and he's kind of bent at Batman. Which is good, because that happened. Dick Grayson was kind of pissed at Batman when he first became Nightwing. So that's what this is. He's becoming Nightwing, going to the Titans, pissed at Batman. Terrible cast. Well, terrible roster. We don't know anything about the cast, but terrible roster.
Should be interesting.
Was he pissed at Batman because Batman wouldn't let him be on his own, or?
No, it was more just he was realizing how basically this guy broke him. He's not a normal person anymore.
So show me on the Batmobile where he touched you.
Kinda. And he still treats him like a child, blah, 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 blah. He's his own man, and, all this.
I'm my own man.
Well, I mean, to be honest, he was like an 18-year-old kid in tights running around with his big brother. Like, it was time he had to go. I don't know if he was 18, but he was old enough to not be doing that.
Right. Yeah. Anything else on your random leaks list?
I don't think so.
You think it's time for me to stand on a corner?
I think it is. You fucking dance, monkey boy.
I ain't gonna dance. Fuck you.
Dance,
but
dance,
I will
dance,
say, if you guys would like to see me dance on the 5D podcast, you can of course check us out on the Twitch stream, which is always live at 5D podcast on Twitch, and we do it at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays for the recording. You can also check out the actual show if you're here on Twitch as the recorded thing, as an audio dealie. That's on Saturdays. We release that to iTunes, which is also on our site, which is 5dpodcast.com. We also have an email account, 5D at 5D Podcast. Love to hear back from you guys. We're also on Facebook /in5D Podcast. We are on YouTube at 5D Podcast. We're also on Twitter as 5D_podcast. I know it's annoying. I had to switch it all up for these other fucking things. People stole my shit. But all that being said, it is with the numeral 5, not the word 5. And most of that information, I think, is on the screen somewhere in places.
Up
so
there.
again, if you want to see me dance, send us an email at 5D at 5D Podcast, and I will dance next stream. Just saying.
He might just dance next stream anyways, because that was exhausting.
You guys had your workout for the week?
Yeah, done.
All right, final words, Eduardo, before we kill you.
That's fucked up. I don't want to die. No. I don't want to go.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. I don't got final words. Peace out, brothers.
Well, now I'm going to sit here just to make you look bad. It's happening. We're just going to sit here and stare at you.
Bro. You know what I got? I got this.
Oh,
Oh man.
Bye.